But to our other top story this morning, the Senate Judiciary Committee will vote on Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court just hours after he and Christine Blasey Ford will testify in front of the committee about an alleged sexual assault that took place more than 30 years ago. Chairman Chuck Grassley said yesterday that if the committee is ready, it may hold a vote on Kavanaugh on Friday at 9:30 a.m. Senate Republicans are under pressure from the White House to move Kavanaugh quickly through the final stages of his nomination to the Supreme Court. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has warned his colleagues publicly and privately that he has plans to hold a floor vote on Kavanaugh no matter what happens in the Judiciary Committee, and possibly as soon as next week. Though Kavanaugh's fate is uncertain, McConnell says he is confident going into a vote.
We're going to be moving forward. I'm confident we're going to win. I'm confident he will be confirmed in the very near future.
Meanwhile, President Trump is speaking out on his Supreme Court nominee's second accuser, slamming Deborah Ramirez's credibility, while also congressional Democrats of playing a con game with the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh.
The second accuser has nothing. The second accuser doesn't even know. She thinks maybe it could have been him, maybe not. She admits that she was drunk. She admits time lapses. There were time lapses. I think it's horrible what the Democrats have done. It's a con game they're playing. They're really con artists. They're trying to convince. You know, they don't believe it themselves. Okay, they know he's a high-quality person. They don't believe it. It's just resist and obstruct. They're playing a con game, and they play it very well. It cannot be allowed to happen. And the Democrats are playing a con game, C-O-N, a con game.
Is there any
shame? And they know it's a con game. They know he's high quality. And they wink at each other. They're winking. They know it's a con game.
And what he said about the accuser is simply disgusting. But, Willie, I guess we can back up and put that in a box. There's so many self-inflicted wounds on the part of the Republicans. The vote on Friday, calling the, I think it's a female prosecutor, sex crimes prosecutor, who will be possibly doing the questioning tomorrow, an assistant. I mean, some of them are small fails, but my God, come on, get it right.
Well, the president, remember, stayed on message for several days. The White House, his senior aides, Rick Tyler, had gotten to the president and said, you cannot go after the women. You can say what you want, that Brett Kavanaugh is a good man, that you believe that, but you can't go after the women. Well, he threw that completely out the window yesterday. As Mika said, the Judiciary Committee now has Rachel Mitchell, a highly esteemed sex crime prosecutor from Arizona, coming in to do some of the questioning of Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh tomorrow. How is the dynamic because of that different today than it was this time yesterday?
How is what dynamic difference?
The dynamic that we'll see play out tomorrow with Rachel Mitchell, the sex crimes prosecutor, being in the room tomorrow.
It's hard to know. Look, I think this process has just been really a bit. I know the Republicans, they've got to move on this vote because they're running out of time. But the whole process has lost credibility. We're in a really a post-truth political world where it doesn't seem to matter to one side or the other who's telling the truth. Everybody seems to have already weighed in. We haven't heard from any witnesses. And so I think it's probably appropriate. Let's have the vote on Friday morning, and after this has happened, and we'll see what comes out of the hearing. But it's just remarkable to me that everybody has this conclusion on one side or the other, because based on whether it helps my team, the Republicans, or my team, the Democrats, without hearing from Dr. Blasey Ford. I mean, why are we coming to these conclusions first and not later? Because this process is not designed to get at the truth.
And by the way, a lot of them on both sides, the senators, had made up their mind before they even heard from Judge Kavanaugh. They knew how they were going to vote. A new wrinkle here, a new report overnight details some of what Dr. Christine Blasey Ford plans to share when she's expected to testify in tomorrow's reopened Supreme Court confirmation hearing. USA Today reports it has obtained sworn declarations of 4 witnesses, 3 friends and Ford's husband, saying her attorney shared with the Senate Judiciary Committee in seeking to corroborate her claim that Judge Brett Kavanaugh assaulted her when they were teenagers, a story Kavanaugh denies. Quoting from the report in her declaration, Ford's friend Adela Gildo Mazan said Ford told her about the alleged assault. during a June 2013 meal and contacted Ford's attorneys on September 16th of this year to tell them Ford had confided in her 5 years ago. In that declaration, she writes, "During our meal, Christine was visibly upset, so I asked her what was going on. Christine told me she had been having a hard day because she was thinking about an assault she experienced when she was much younger. She said she had been almost raped by someone who is now a federal judge. She told me she'd been trapped in a room with two drunken guys and that she'd escaped, run away, and hid." Remember, that's June 2013. More from the USA Today report on the sworn declarations of 4 witnesses for Dr. Ford. Keith Kogler said Ford revealed the alleged assault to him in 2016 when the 2 parents were watching their children play in a public place and discussing the light sentencing of Stanford University student Brock Turner. He says Christine expressed anger at Mr. Turner's lenient sentence, stating she was particularly bothered by it because she was assaulted in high school by a man who is now a federal judge in Washington, D.C. On June 29th, 10 days before Kavanaugh's nomination, Kogler said Ford revealed to him in an email that the person who had assaulted her in high school was President Donald Trump's, quote, favorite for SCOTUS. In his response email, Kogler wrote, "I remember you telling me about him, but I don't remember his name. Do you mind telling me so I can read about him?" Ford's emailed response, Brett Kavanaugh. Another declaration from Rebecca White, a neighbor of Dr. Ford, also recalling Ford sharing her story with her after White wrote a blog post about sexual assault. So, Mika, this is a new USA Today revelation that came in overnight. There's been a lot of talk that there hasn't been strong corroboration of Dr. Ford's story. Now you have 4 different people corroborating.
No, and this is the kind of information that's going to be put on the table. I think it's going to be a very difficult day, Zainab, for Dr. Ford, because she's basically going to have to put her life out there to talk about something terrible that she truly believes happened to her and absolutely may have happened to her. But am I using my words correctly? Because I feel like in the media especially, we have 2 camps. Some who say it has to be believed and that's where you begin, and others who just want to report the story to see what's going to happen. What do we do with these allegations in the age of Me Too? You have an ongoing series on PBS, Me Too, now what? Now what with this?
You know, we have become cynical and jaded about such stories, and what we really need to exercise, all of us right now, is respect and compassion for people's integrity. I think a lot of people don't understand that when something happened to you as a 16 years old does matter. You still actually continue to suffer with it. It still traumatizes you. If you have not had been assaulted, think of a car accident that happened to you. You're still suffering physically actually from it. This is psychological impact. What we need actually psychological. You know, I feel like there's so much political discussion, the conspiracy theory, this and this. What we're missing is psychologists, you know, experts in the field of why this matters to Dr. Ford as an individual, why this is impacting her life. I believe that if something happened to you at any age, it does impact your life, and why it matters for America to potentially have a Supreme Court judge who has his views about women, who has a predatory, aggressive views about women. That does matter for the future of our country and our girls and teenagers, no matter who you are. And so in order to get the truth, we need to actually create safe space tomorrow for her to tell the truth. This is a traumatized person. You cannot just have a Senate Judiciary Committee and they're just grilling her and all of that. We need to have respect for her integrity in order to really get the truth from her and from him.
And from him. I was thinking the entire process needs to be respectful. And the politics of this, Sam Stein, I mean, can the Republicans even help themselves? I mean, just with small little things that might just make them get through the day without being mocked, ridiculed, and, by the way, losing women in the midterms. Because this is not that difficult. You can have respect. Many Republicans are standing firm in their support of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, and some are publicly rejecting the sexual misconduct allegations against him.
What we see taking place right now is a PR stunt by the Democrats. It is character assassination, and this is something that is dirty politics at its worst.
Even if it's all true, does it disqualify him? It certainly means that he did something really bad 36 years ago, but does it disqualify him from the Supreme Court?
So you think these women are making it up? They had a little help, I have a feeling.
Accusations are being made about things that didn't happen, and I think it's just very unfortunate.
See, nobody wants to hear what you think, actually, because at this point, this is an allegation, and your answer should be, sir, this is a really important thing that we need to look at. This is a very serious allegation. We need to find out the facts. It's really easy to say, and you can be respectful. It's really easy. I don't know why they have to smear her. I don't know why they have to force a vote on Friday and make it completely look like they don't even care what's going to happen on Thursday. And Sam Stein, who calls a female sex crimes prosecutor an assistant at this point. Really? I get why you can't talk for yourself, Republicans on the Judiciary Committee. You can't, because you're literally incapable of being respectful or treating women with any sense of, well, that they might actually have qualifications to be as high ranking as you. Here's Mitch McConnell, an assistant. Really?
We have hired a female assistant to go on staff and to ask these questions in a respectful and professional way.
I can't even. I mean, what's wrong with them? I mean, I actually think there could be a really good reason, Sam Stein, politically, to have a woman asking the questions. And there could be a really great way of saying that. And he just, I don't know, what happened there? He can't look at a woman in any other way but a supportive role that is lower.
There's obvious discomfort that Senate Republicans have about this entire process, and I think it's been bungled at various points. Obviously, well, not obviously. I guess to me it's very odd that they are rushing it for that precise reason. It does come off as deeply insensitive to the story of this woman. Why not bring in a psychologist as a witness to further bolster the testimony? Why not bring in a medical expert? In addition to the friends and Mark Judge, that would actually create a forum that could be both helpful for the confirmation process for Brett Kavanaugh, I would argue, but also informational about the issue of sexual assault. In the end, though, the real damage here is not necessarily going to be to Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court confirmation proceedings or not. What they're essentially doing is nothing that's happened this week will encourage future victims of sexual assault from ever coming forward if the person they're accusing is a person of privilege or power. Because what we've witnessed is that institutions, partisanship will all be aligned against you. Donald Trump is the most powerful man in the world, okay? For him to take the time to go after in a vicious and nasty way Debbie Ramirez, who is probably in her point of intense emotional vulnerability, is jarring. And it will have ramifications for years to come for people who have been victimized by sexual assault and feel that they need to come forward, but look at what happened to her and say, I can't do that.
Just say again, the woman's name, the assistant, is Rachel Mitchell. She's for 25 years been a sex crimes prosecutor, won every award you can win in the state of Arizona. But I want to, Zainab, I want to ask you, when you hear Jim Inhofe say this didn't happen, definitively, he doesn't believe the story put forward by Dr. Ford. When you hear President Trump going after Debbie Ramirez, and then on the other hand, when you hear Democrats saying there should be no due process, this guy is a bad guy based on circumstantial evidence, things we've heard about him, he shouldn't be on the Supreme Court. What do you hear when you hear all that, other than two sides who made up their minds before this process even started?
I hear sexism being manifested in public. Really, it legitimizes every woman's claim who's saying we're not taking with our claims are not taken with respect and integrity. This is the definition of sexism. It's being manipulated. I'm a huge believer of due process, and there needs to be a due process. It doesn't matter who it is. And at the same time, to dismiss a woman's claim is disrespectful of her entire story. It is not easy to talk about such intimate, emotional issues. It's not easy to talk to your best friend about it. It's not easy to talk to your therapist. It's not easy to talk in front of politicians who are, to start with, cynical about your own thing. We need to start with the basic concept of respect for women. Just that.
I would say that extends to not holding a vote within 18 hours of her testimony. I mean, to be able to fully process what's going to happen on Thursday, I would imagine people would want to take some time to think about it, talk to maybe the friends, talk to a psychologist or a medical expert. But for them to now schedule a vote at 9:30 a.m. on Friday, where they will have basically 12 hours or so to actually process what it says, is in itself insulting to Dr. Ford.
Yeah. David, like you, I've been sitting here listening to this conversation this morning. Like you, My hair, what I have left of it, is graying. And I'm wondering about your thoughts on the following premise, that the institution of the presidency and the United States Senate, that everyone so revered not that long ago, is now so badly damaged that one question that might be asked is, how long will it take to repair the damage that is being done on a daily basis to both institutions?
Well, Mike, you put your finger on what I think so many of us feel watching everything coming out of Washington. Washington is in a partisan war, the likes of which I've never seen. We've had nasty Supreme Court confirmation battles, but never one as sharply polarized as this. We've had presidents who attack the opposite party, never in these terms. I think one powerful strand of the Kavanaugh story is that real human experience, the experience of Dr. Ford, her memories of it, her trauma, her having told her husband, her therapist, her friends about these memories years ago, before Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination was ever even imagined. We're all thinking about it and dealing with that reality of trauma. I'm also struck, Mike, by the fact that the Republicans know they have to be careful. This is a different country in some ways, and they know that if they didn't have a respected woman prosecutor asking questions, if it was 11 men from the Republican Party asking those questions, the country would be angry. And so I think that says that however nasty this spectacle has been this week, the country has moved some. The claims of the women who were victims in these cases, I think, are being taken more seriously. The Republicans are more afraid of seeming to roll right over them.
Yeah, there's so much going on here. A good thing we have a 3-hour show. But before we go, Marsha Blackburn, we never even talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
Marsha Blackburn, a woman calling another woman a liar without knowing the truth. I got to tell you, that's not going to play well with the women in Tennessee. It may play well with the president, who pays off porn stars and Playboy bunnies and brags about grabbing women by the genitals. It's not going to play well with the women of Tennessee. It was probably a difficult move on her part. Guess she felt she had to do it. I don't know why.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.